and if you've had enough time to develop this into muscle memory, you can apply these
Yeah.
kind of submission things without hurting someone. That's the
Yeah.
art part of it. The art
And
part
you're
is
going to
doing it
have a
without hurting them.
confidence in yourself. You'll have a confidence in yourself as an officer because when you train, you build confidence in yourself, and you have a lot less to prove when you're rolling around in the neighborhood.
Sure, sure. I mean, I watched cops in Portland. I watched one cop, an Officer Ferguson, actually go into a Shell gas station where there's like five guys fighting each other. He goes in by himself, completely defuses the situation, doesn't have to escalate the force, just uses his hands, and only walks out with one suspect. Brings that guy to the car.
Right.
By the time the other three officers pulled into the parking lot, Officer Ferguson had already taken care of it, and part of it was one part diplomacy and one part physical finesse. But he did it without
Mm-hmm.
using a taser, without pepper spray inside that Shell gas station, without drawing his gun. He did it with his words, his mind, and his handsies. And hats off to Officer Ferguson. I mean, if more
Yeah.
cops handled shit the way that dude handles himself, I think we'd live in a better society. Wherever you sit on the spectrum of, well, I have friends that think cops shouldn't even fucking exist, and then I have cops that want to, are friends that want to reform the system. Wherever you stand, I still think that if cops were trained better, and use of force doctrine it varies per municipality. Some places are better than others. Like my buddy
I
Tom
really
Zebra.
believe we need to make some federal mandates. We really need to, as a society, reassess how we're handling this security job. Essentially, they're the bouncers of the country. We got to look at them and go,
Sure.
hey, guys, you're out of hand. We have to reassess the
Sure.
tools of the trade. Like the whole notion of shocking somebody into compliance. That's what a bully does. We have
Right.
all this culture about bullies, and you got to get rid of the bullies. Well, isn't a guy who says, sit the fuck down or I'm going to shock you with this cattle prod?
Right.
That's a fucking bully and a half.
Yeah, I've seen so many fucking dash cam videos where cops are threatening people. Shut up or I'll. I mean, I watched a YouTube video where a cop was threatening to taser some guy in the nuts. Or I've watched a YouTube video where a guy was complying. At first he didn't. There was one officer on the scene and there was a car chase. And the guy got out of the car and the one cop that was the chasing him that was the closest got out of his car as well, drew his pistol at him and told the guy, he gave the guy some commands and the guy ignored him. So when the other cops arrive, he says, this guy doesn't know how to listen. He needs to be tased. And they shoot him in the back with a taser. That is total bullshit on a level that I can hardly comprehend. But here's something else that needs to be changed about the way law enforcement is done in this country, Hart. And I don't know if you know this or not, but hey, if more people would just have access to the federal database of officer-involved shootings or officer-involved taserings, or
Oh, they don't want to
wait,
give us that
wait,
data.
actually, yeah, fuck, I forgot that database doesn't exist. The federal government, you'd think these guys have figured out already how to collect all of our data. Just Google federal data storage. I mean, they're counting the farts of our pets right now, but they can't keep documents on how many cops taser people a year, how many officer-involved shootings there are, justified or not. No,
But
they don't want to
want
keep
to know
that
how you
data.
get that information, Mike? Here's how you get that information, Mike. Every single police department has insurance. And insurance costs money. And insurance pays people money when problems happen or lawsuits happen. So if you want to keep track of officer-involved shootings, perhaps one might want to look at the insurance agencies because they're keeping the data.
Yeah.
Who do you think paid for some of these things when these lawsuits go wrong? You damn well know the insurance company has this data. You
Sure.
damn well know there is a database, and they're lying to us about it.
Of course.
And telling us it doesn't.
Right.
You fucking know it does.
But the
There's
feds,
no way in hell.
yeah, the feds don't keep the data and make it accessible to the public. If people had any idea.
About all the paperwork, dude. They file paperwork. Every time
Sure.
there's an officer involved shooting, it's my understanding that there's paperwork.
Right.
How come there hasn't been a Freedom of Information Act demand and go, we would love to see the shooting paperwork because they did this with the shootings of dogs. That's how we found out how many dogs are getting killed every year by these police departments because people have been making Freedom of Information Act requests and getting that information. So since we can get the info of how many dogs are getting shot, it's only a step up to get the information of how many officer-involved shootings there are. We don't need names. We just want data.
We want data.
And the fact.
Yeah, there's been more.
Just like every other data, Mike.
Just in what's been compiled through mainstream media reports, there's been more than a dozen people of color, people that are darker than me, killed by police since the Mike Brown shooting. There's one quick thing I want to touch on about this whole media circus involving this. Okay, you
know what, Mike?
What?
Mike, let's take a break for commercial.
Sure.
Assemble your thoughts when we come back for our final segment of Heart Attack. I want to hear this, man.
Nice.
Get your thoughts together. We'll be right back with more Heart Attack. All right, let me get going on the third recording. You're doing great, Mike.
Right on, thanks.
Kick ass, buddy.
Right on, thank you, brother.
Hate to keep interrupting you.
No, it's no big deal. I mean, you're a passionate motherfucker, and I appreciate it. I'm used to being the one that's going blab, 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 so it's refreshing to be able to speak with you. It really is.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was recently on.
Yelling at me. I want to hear him talk. Shut up, Hart. All right, let's get this third segment recording. I am now recording segment 3 of Heart Attack number 75 with my blue hair. I'm going to count it in. These fucking headphones are squeaking like fucking crazy. Jesus. All right, here we go. Let's try this. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Heart Attack. I am Hart D. Fisher. With me is Mike Bluehair from Film the Police Portland. We have been talking about issues with America's law enforcement community, repercussions of the shootings in Ferguson, the riots in Ferguson, and I believe a lot of these riots people have been pushed to it. As we go, Mike, you were leading up to a thought right when we took a break for commercial. Hit me.
Well, here's a thought. This whole media circus is trying to play this up as a race thing. Well, it is and it isn't. And let me explain. Here's the difference between the way my friends that are of color and my friends that are white perceive the whole Ferguson thing. There is something called white privilege in our culture, and I really believe it exists. Here's what white privilege is. When the verdict of Darren Wilson came out, when they said that, they're not even going to bother to try to charge him with this crime, white people had the luxury of being outraged.